share with you a tale from Folklore and Legends from Middle-earth. This is a short folk tale set in the Shire that is titled Hobbs, the Half-Wit Hobbit. Hobbs was a bit of a braggart, somewhat half-witted. Everyone in the West Farthing knew that. Even the ants that danced in delight on a summer's sunny day on the blades of grass sang a song of how bad Harris the Hobbit could be. You know you're in trouble when even the insects gossip about you. But since he was a little dim, everyone accepted the good with the bad, no matter how annoying he sometimes might get. The Lith Days Festival in Micheldilding was going strong with entertainments and contests for everyone. There were bakers with the best and delicious foods, carpenters with chairs and cabinets they had labored to build all winter long, and farmers with eggs and animals and herbs galore. There were swings for the little hobbit children that went out over the pond and twining carousels for older folks. But Hobbs was there specifically for the foot races.
"There isn't a living thing in the Shire faster than I,"
boasted the young hobbit lad. That irritated many a hobbit. Oh, that Hobbs might have been a nitwit, irritatingly so sometimes, but he was a fast fellow. The more Harris challenged his fellow hobbits and bragged that none of them could beat him in a race with more folks, could not beat him in a race, the more folks were determined to teach him a lesson. So money was bet, and a time was set on the third day of the festival for the race to be held out on the White Downs. Harris had many takers for his race, and he thought he would make a nice purse of winnings. But our fellow Hobbs was not a total dimwit. He made sure to go out to the downs and search for the best spot to hold the race. He marked off with red flags that blew merrily in the summer breeze. He practiced a bit to make sure that the ground was flat and free of stones. All the while he prepared for the race, the rabbits on the downs watched him. They had set out a nice tea for the afternoon and enjoyed the entertainment of the silly hobbit lad that ran back and forth across the green grass to no purpose that they could see. Finally, Hobbs heard their laughter, and he grew cross and went up to them.
"Sorry to interrupt your tea, but you seem to be having quite a bit of a cut-up at my expense. You're very rude, rabbits, sitting around with scones and jam and tea in silver pot. I think your kind would be more appreciative of a hobbit that is such a good runner as I."
The leader of the hobbits winked at his friends and family. "So you think yourself a good runner? Is that what you're doing out here, going to and fro? We all thought that perhaps a bee was chasing you." That just made our fellow Hobbs turn red as he felt the sting of their insult.
"I am the best runner in the Shire. I am practicing for a race that will be held here in 3 days' time. I bet I could beat even one of your kind. I bet I could."
"Ho, ho, ho, ho!" laughed all the rabbits. Harris was not one to be laughed at.
"Stop it immediately," he shouted at the rabbits. "I challenge you to set your fastest runner against me. I will beat him, I swear it."
The leader of the rabbits wiped a tear of laughter from his eyes and then poured himself another cup of tea. "Oh, sure, that is not so. Our kind are fast as can be."
"Then prove it. Set someone from your warren to race against me."
"Ah, don't be a silly hobbit."
"Let's make it better. Let's bet on it,"
challenged Harris. "What in Middle-earth could a rabbit have that a hobbit would want? Rain and grass?" giggled another of the rabbits. The hobbit smiled broadly and pointed at their silver teapot.
"I'll wager against your teapot."
The rabbits stopped laughing. The teapot was their most prized possession. It made them the envy of all the other rabbits on the White Downs. "I'm sorry, we will have to we'll have to decline your challenge," said the leader. "I thought so," countered Harris. You are all talk and bluster. You'll never win against me." That was that. The rabbits were insulted. The leader looked around him at his friends and family and nodded their consent. "We will race you, foolish braggart of a hobbit." "Ha, fat old rabbit! It will be a pleasure to beat one of you. I will race you 3 days from now on the morning before my hobbit race." "Not so fast," said the rabbit. "What about what we want? Eh? What if we win? Don't you want to know what it is we want from you?" "What would it..." The leader of the rabbits shook his head. "We don't expect something sweet from you, young hobbit. No, we want you to learn to respect others. If we win, you must stop your bragging ways. You will be held by your word to mend your ways. Can you do that?" "I won't have to. I will win the race." "Make a vow to us then, and we will meet your challenge for the race." Harris sighed. "Who am I running against?" "One from our warren. We will work that out on the day of the race." "Well, you're all the same to me. I accept your bet. I accept your bet. If I win, I get your teapot, and if you win, I will change my ways." "Done?" "Done." And so they shook hand to paw on it. Harris went back to his practice, and the hobbits finished their tea, and they all went their separate ways and met back on the spot marked by the red flags on the 3rd day. Oh, the poor rabbits had been in a terrible state before they had returned to the racing area. They had looked about their warren to see who was fit and trim enough to beat the boastful half-wit hobbit. The leader was indeed too old and fat. The youngest family members were too young and little. Their older males were spoiled by too much rest and sunshine, but they were lucky enough that the smallest member of their warren spoke up before they'd headed out to the race. It was truly the very smallest of the smallest members of the warren, a little tiny flea. "You have all been so kind to have me in the warmth of your warren through the winter. And now that it is summer, the least I can do to show my appreciation is to win this race for you, my friends," said the flea. "How will you do that?" the rabbits asked. "Trust me, you will see. And more importantly, that boastful hobbit will see," said the little flea with a smile and a laugh. And so it was that Harris faced off against the flea in the race. "Stupid bug," said Harris. "I thought I was going to race against a rabbit, but suit yourself, rabbits. There's no way that bug can beat me in this race." "I am humbled by the challenge," said the flea. He took no offense to the insult. And with the ringing of a bell by the old leader of the rabbits, the race started. The flea, being exceedingly smart, immediately jumped up on Harris and sat on the hobbit's cheek, just at the corner of his eye. No matter how fast the hobbit ran, the poor nitwit saw the flea right beside him. Harris raced faster and faster, but the flea always seemed to be right there. And as they neared the finish line, the flea quickly hopped off and crossed the line first. Harris collapsed in a heap at the finish line. He held his sides and took deep breath after deep breath until he recovered. He'd never run so fast in his life. How had the flea been able to keep up with him? The flea jumped up and down in joy, and the rabbits all danced around, singing his praises. But just then, the hobbits of the festival that had all been challenged by Harris to the originally planned race started showing up on the downs. The rabbits and the flea went off to the side and kept quiet. Poor Harris Hobbs got on his feet and put his hands on his hips as he tried to catch his breath. "None of that," said the mayor of Nickel-Delving, thinking that Harris was going to try to feign some reason to get out of his wagers with the other hobbits. "We are all here on the appointed day, at the appointed hour. It's time for the race." Harris cast a glance at the rabbits and the flea, then focused his attention on the Hobbit foot race he now needed to run. He was up against 7 of the strongest Hobbit lads that had come from across the Shire for the festival. "Dumb flea," muttered Harris under his breath. The mayor acted as the race starter. He had a big white handkerchief that he used as a flag. The racers used little red flags that Harris had set up to mark the start and end of the race. With a great flourish, the mayor waved his handkerchief, and the hobbits were off and running. Such a cheer rose from the 60 or 70 hobbits that had come to the race. Everyone rooted for their own favorite. Everyone wanted someone else or another to beat that half-witted braggart Harris Hobbs. Everyone, that was, except for the rabbits and the flea. They began cheering for Harris. All the assembled marveled at the curly-headed Harris Hobbs as he sped faster and faster along the downs. He truly was something to behold, as fast as a bird in flight. Soon the hobbits that had been cheering for brothers or friends to beat Harris begrudgingly began to cheer for Harris as he displayed his gift of speed. And so it was with no surprise that Harris actually won the race. Even the ants in the grass did a little dance in celebration of the great victory. The mayor prepared himself for the expected, boastful speech that Harris was undoubtedly going to give. But to everyone's surprise, Harris did not launch into a boring, bragging, bloated torrent of self-praise. No, not at all. Instead, he went to every hobbit that had raced against him, and he shook their hands. He spoke, but only to thank everyone for showing up for the race. The mayor handed over the winnings to Harris, who shocked everyone further by announcing he would take them all to the pub on him. The hobbits lifted Harris on their shoulders and paraded him back down to the town and into the pub, where they drank and feasted into the evening. In the morning, the rabbits of the White Downs found that they had not been forgotten. They woke to find a fine bag of sugar with a thank you note pinned to it. "You gave me the important lesson of humility, and I will keep my end of the wager. Please accept this gift with my thanks. Harris Hobbs." Atop the bag of sugar was a tiny box, and inside that box was an even tinier gift for the flea, a teacup that was just the right size for that little professor of a bug. From that day forward, no one thought Harris Hobbs to be either a braggart or a half-wit again. Lesson learned.